targeted are not even human beings.
I think the initial reaction is surely this can't be, and surely, you know, we're talking about maybe a dozen kooks on the internet. But then when you start kind of showing to people that really, I mean, this is the internet reaching into our real worlds, and this is really happening, and, you know, we can't just look away from it.
How big do you think the movement is?
Overall, I put it at about 10% of the population, 10 to 15%.
Though the size of the movement is widely debated, Angela's assessment closely matches ours, which lands at about 30 million followers in the US.
It is true that some of the trafficking stats are awful. It's actually a reflection of having bad domestic services. So I don't dismiss it. I embrace it. So yes, this is a terrible thing. And we better damn well do something about it. But
Except it's not the fucking numbers that these psychos literally talk about. Donald Trump's administration has ironically prosecuted sex offenders less than previous administrations. Well, that's another fucking fun fact, I guess. And also, the QAnon supporters, in all of their endless interest in defeating pedophilia and sex trafficking rings, have actually made it harder for intelligence communities to combat sex trafficking to begin with their own personal citizens' arrests and shit like that. And lastly, what is the claim? Like, they literally look at the kidnapping claim, the number of kids that go missing, and they attribute that to like every child that's been kidnapped. Every child that's been kidnapped and sold in sex trafficking. When you look at the missing reports, and it's
Hasanabi,
that number gets whittled down from 800,000 a year to kids that were found immediately, or kids that ran away from home, or a big chunk, 50% of that is literally kids that were kidnapped by their immediate family members in custody agreements. So it gets whittled down to kids being kidnapped by strangers and sold into sex trafficking is basically like 80 a year, which is still insane, but not 800,000. It's 84 kids a year get kidnapped by strangers, okay, so that they can be sold into sex trafficking, which is a horrific fact to begin with. But it's not 800,000 like the way that these psychotic QAnon supporters believe and advocate for.
But the answer is not to run to any right-wing philosophy that's going to strip those services more.
I think on kind of a more mundane but still very tragic level, I think just people who are alienated from their family, from their relatives, because they get so into QAnon, and then suddenly it's all they want to talk about.
On a personal level, I understand that you have seen this in your own life.
Yeah.
Would you be comfortable talking a little bit about that?
I mean, it happens to everybody. Even if they don't fully appreciate, even know why that person seems to be gone. In my case, it's a family member, it's an uncle, who's gone fully down the Q rabbit hole. Somebody that I grew up with telling me that Donald Trump was going to put my head on a pike, and like, at least I would assume knows that I'm not like running this like massive child sex trafficking ring where I'm a demon eating children. I would at least assume that. It's pretty clear that he's gone. And yeah, he's gone. He's completely gone.
Very sorry to hear that.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's terrible.
A great example of how the QAnon psychos operate, by the way, is that they will look at something that is perfectly understandable, like the way that drop shipping sites, for example, change the pricing of certain items when they run out of inventory, right? They'll look at that and they'll use that as an indication that, or they'll use that as proof that, like, Wayfair is selling children, right? And then they will find missing children's reports. Okay? They'll find missing children's reports, blast these fucking people that had gone missing while they were, teenagers or whatever, as though they're still missing. And when someone comes out and says, "Hey, fuckface, I'm that person you're talking about. I'm not fucking missing. That was the worst day of my life 4 years ago, but I'm clearly myself and not fucking missing," they literally turn around and say, "Why are you covering up for the Wayfair pedophiles? Why are you..." They get mad at the person that they blasted, dude. I saw it happen with the Wayfair conspiracies, where like one of the black teenagers that had gone missing was like, "Hey guys, it's me. I'm not fucking missing." That was filed like 2 years ago or whatever. What the fuck are you doing? And people got mad at her. They were like, "Why are you upset about our incredible cause fighting against pedophilia. Maybe you're fighting against maybe you're fighting against those who are fighting against pedophilia because now you're working for them. Anyway, it's a good point to pause for a brief moment because it's top of the hour every hour. It's time for a 60-second ad break right now, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd no longer want to see the ads, all you need to do is subscribe. You can do it for $5 or for free with your Twitch Prime. Here's the 60-second ad break. If you no longer want to see it, you can connect your Amazon account to your Twitch account and get one free Prime that you can use on your favorite broadcaster, which happens to be me, probably. Here it is. Here's the 1-minute ad. All right.
Yeah. A lot of times when we think about the violence like this, it seems like it's going to be in the context of political violence. And sure, I think that's possible. But I actually think it's going to be like most violence that occurs with people they know and love, because they will be convinced that they're doing something nefarious, that they're running a child sex trafficking ring, that they're members of the deep state, and they will take matters into their own hands.
Coming up.
After the break.
If Q does exist and Q is real, and we are finding out that there is this satanic worshiping and devil and all this stuff, if this proves all of that stuff, that will make me happy because it will have undeniable proof that Satan exists, and you have to acknowledge that Christ exists.
QAnon.
Satanic rituals, drinking children's blood, adrenochrome.
Where did they come from?
QAnon is the single greatest information operation in the history of humanity.
How responsible are they for the attack on the Capitol?
Should Q be classified?
Well, they're getting ads too. It's so strange to me that they
Q to someone who's never.
All right. Oh, this one's gonna.
Personality, who recently began looking at Izzo. A former police officer, an online personality, who recently began looking into.
Dude, look at that gait, okay? Look at my man, dude. Tell me that my thumb theory is not true, please.
Officer. An online personality.
3.
No, I did run the ad. It just
recently
ended.
began looking into Q.
Oh, this one's gonna piss a lot of you off.
All right. How would you describe Q to someone who's never heard of it before?
Q is about ending child sex trafficking. I don't know another worthy cause outside of that. I got bit by the Q bug back in February of this year. I think that it was just about the beginning of the lockdown, so before March. I don't recall what it was. I think it was the Janet Osbard Fall of Cabal documentary. I was captivated, and I watched, and I watched, and I watched. And for me,
The Nazi
somebody
OSS
who's
Pentagon.
pretty good at discerning, somebody who's pretty good at needing and requiring facts to make a concrete decision, I wanted to believe it bad.
What brought you to become a police officer?
Ideology. I wanted to change the world. Are
That's
you
from the
kidding me?
Netherlands?
Loved it. I'm Christian.
So here's the problem, okay, with the QAnon conspiracies and shit. And if you watch like TrueAnon, or if you listen to leftists who cover these sorts of topics, first of all, there is a materialist reasoning for why people tend to believe in these conspiracies. I've talked about this a million times over. You can go check that out on my YouTube videos, right? But the other part of it is like, there is, of course, as always, a crumb of truth at the fucking heart of all these conspiracy theories. Like, when you think about the connection between the British royal family and Nazis or some shit, like, you look that up, you find out that, you know, there is a relationship there. And then all of a sudden, if you add on top of that a multitude of psychotic things, or if you look at like Operation Paperclip, right? Real things that have happened throughout history, you can absolutely utilize declassified CIA files or actual things that have happened, actual things that have happened throughout history because of the endless cruelty that those in positions of power engage in. You can 1000% get people to believe in crazy shit because, oh my God, I had never thought about it this way. Well, this is fucking real. So what else is fucking real? You know what I mean? COVID has accelerated QAnon because everyone's isolating themselves and no one is there to tell the chuds they're crazy. It's not even just that, man. It's not even just that. COVID was a world-changing event. How many times have I talked about this? When world-changing events occur and the government has no answer for what the reason for why those problems are happening, and it's invisible like a fucking like a virus, you look to contextualize things that you previously could not that you currently cannot fathom. Okay, that's it. And this gives you a very fun way to follow a conspiracy theory to its end, and it allows you to contextualize things that you have no answer for. It is no different than religion in that sense, where it offers you spiritual guidance and it offers you an answer for things that science has no answer for in your mind. Yeah, it's like fun religion, basically.
I was raised Catholic. When you start looking at what is supposed to be the most righteous organization on the planet, Rome, the Vatican, the Catholic Church, how hard is it to believe then that you flip that side of the coin and there's going to be a darker, more nefarious cabal, if you will, that is operating off of the same aspect? Satanic rituals, drinking children's blood, adrenochrome. This stuff has been going on. If Q doesn't...
The funniest part about it is that they have, first of all, they have so many. They have like such weird fucking memes, dude. If you remember when I did the QAnon thing, if you remember when I don't say banned, it's fucking blurred. Shut the fuck up. If you remember when I did the QAnon rally that I went to, which I think they show a clip of. I'm in this video somewhere. But I talked to some of these people and I was like, dude, you guys have a lot of fucking like weird imagery that you're showing people. Like, why do you, like, you literally went, you Googled like a child being abused, okay? You found a stock footage of it, you printed that out, you posted it on your fucking billboard, and now you're running around ruining people's days. And that always was very strange to me too. Like, you just have been so desensitized to like all the, weirdly enough, all the child porn adjacent shit that you've seen on the internet, and now you're trying to traumatize others with it. It's so fucked up.
Exist and Q is real. That will make me happy because it will have undeniable proof that Satan exists, and you have to acknowledge that Christ exists.
That's insane, right?
Ashley Bryan is a co-founder of Win Black Palante, a national campaign hub designed to counter disinformation.
You're using misinformation and disinformation sort of interchangeably. Do you find a distinction in those?
Misinformation is without intent. In the beginning of the pandemic, right, there wasn't a lot of information out there. The country was scrambling to figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
Disinformation is with the intent to disinform. I like to just call them plain old lies. Quite honestly.
Just some bullshit, you know?
Just some bullshit.
Brief summary of materialist reasoning here. It's simple. There is a profound amount of cruelty that you are subjected to under the crushing, oppressive economic organization of capitalism. Okay? And even if you are not personally subjected to it, you see others subjected to it in way more meaningful ways than yourself. And if you don't have a materialist description for why that happens, that economic organization happens, then you have to believe in a... if you don't have a materialist reasoning for why that happens, as a consequence of like the mode of production and how society is organized around it, then your reasoning for it has to be spiritual or idealistic in nature. And that's why you believe in things that are good and bad. There are good people and bad people. And bad people are doing things because they're bad. And there's a group of people that are doing those bad things. Why are they doing it? Because they're bad for some undescribable reason, okay? And that's what it is. That's at the heart of all these conspiracies, whether it be fascist conspiracies that put Jews at the heart of their conspiracy as the other, as the group of individuals who just wanted to do evil things and control everyone else. You know, the puppets, the puppet masters of the strings. Or I guess it's literally always Jews. It's every conspiracy always goes back to Jews are the reason, because historically they have always been used as a scapegoat. But There's a lot of QAnon people in the Hasidic Jewish community, which is super fucked since these conspiracies often end with the Jews. Yeah, well, not surprising. People want to blame others for the frustrations of their life, and capitalism and patriarchy are too amorphous to blame. Q, you really focus that rage? Yeah. It always turns into an anti-Semitic drivel. It is a coping mechanism. It is, yes. Why is it always Jews? Historically oppressed group of individuals. I think one part of the reason is not being able to own land as a consequence of your religion, and therefore focusing on mercantilism and focusing on and also usury not being a sin in Judaism allowed Jewish people historically to control and engage in loans and shit like that. So that's why people were like, oh fuck, these guys are controlling our money and they're controlling everything and they're at the heart of all of our problems. It's an antiquated conspiracy theory, especially considering like if you were to look at a country like America, for example, right? If you were to look at a country like America, there isn't like a Jewish cabal. There is a WASP cabal. You know what I mean? If you look at who controls American civilization, you would literally have to say, oh, it's the fucking WASPs. There's a WASP supremacy in the United States of America, not a Jewish supremacy in the United States of America. But no one ever says that because WASPs are considered the in-group, and it's normal that they're in the position of power. That's it. WASPs, not like the bug. I mean, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Anyway, funny how most Q followers are religious people. Believing in one imaginary idea paves the way to believing in others. Anyway.
In an Instagram post recently that you referred to BLM supporters as subhuman.
100%.
What do you mean by that?
100%. Black Lives Matter. Anybody who supports them is subhuman, in my opinion.
I mean, I support Black Lives Matter. Am I subhuman?
I'm very black and white, and I'm extremely polarizing. So my subhuman, that's always going to be my emotional, polarizing post.
Answer it, pussy. Mr. Thumb over here. Thank you, Walla Cod, for the 10 tier 1 gift subs. Like, you're subhuman.
Because I absolutely always post for controversy's sake and to create and to stir a narrative.
The other thing that we're noticing a lot is like language that dehumanizes Black Lives Matter. What is the effect of that type of language?
It has large effects. Simply being a black person in America is challenging. And so to be beat down and diminished and dehumanized, as you said, it just continues to add this additional layer.
Don't you deserve to know who I really am? Don't you deserve to know? Oh, he thinks that these people are...
This is the worst level of being a fucking sicko, being a sick freak, because like you admit that you're a sick freak and you're like, whatever, I'm gonna wear it with my chest. It's actually a good thing that I'm fucking racist and I'm telling you that I'm racist.
Subhuman? 100%.
Another favorite of yours seems to be the pushing that Michelle Obama's a man. Can you talk to us about that?
It's, I hate that woman. Then I will go down that conspiracy theory when she's dancing on Ellen. You bet I love enjoying these fantasy and fantastical possibilities that are out there. I'm not a fan of her personally, so why wouldn't I go low?
This just goes to show how dark these groups are willing to go, because
I don't like that person, so I'm just gonna make shit up about them is at least brutally honest. This thumb is brutally honest. Refreshing, if I do say so myself.
Use that, transphobic type of commentary when it's so easily debunked.
I know.
I mean, I think that's the most confusing thing to me, is that they double down on these lies that literally takes a half a second for someone to debunk. I mean, it's like this birtherism, right? It's all of these narratives are just, it's pure ridiculousness. Are these sophisticated tactics? No. They're able to do that because they have a listening ear to folks that are willing to believe these narratives to make themselves feel better, to make them feel better about their unfounded hate.
They're my opinions. And at the end of the day, you know, I guess I'll be an asshole, but
I love this take, dude. Hey, I'm sorry. They're just how I feel, man. Like, sorry, these bigoted opinions are just my opinions, and therefore we can't do anything. And that is at the heart of the pussy, snowflake-ass American mentality that I constantly fucking yell about, which is, listen, these are unique thoughts because I thought them. These are my individual opinions, and as an individual, that means by sheer virtue of me thinking those opinions, they are now important enough for you to take seriously.
I still will hope you'll see that that's a part of me, but it doesn't define everything that I am.
That was really rough for me. Talking to Dom was really unsettling. I felt I was sort of taken aback at how offensive a lot of the things he said was in this sort of very friendly manner, right? Just like looking us in the eye and was like, yeah, I think you're subhuman.
Right, yeah, I mean, I think, and the thing, his follow-up to that of explanation, which is that over time he learned that creating posts that were as polarizing as possible was a way that he can kind of grow his audience online. And I think that's a great example when you read between the lines of how social media amplifies kind of the most outrageous.
I mean, when a guy like that says you're subhuman, I take it seriously. And the only reason why I take it seriously is because, wait, what the fuck? Vice Communications. Hassan Piker's Twitch stream. Hassan the Hunt is streaming the first episode of Vice TV's QAnon Search for Q. If you miss it, check it out tonight on Vice TV at 10 p.m. Wait, what the fuck? Why is Vice Communications like promoting my channel? Did I accidentally end up doing like a worldwide release or something? Thank you for the shout out. I'm in the video, by the way, somewhere. I've missed it. I think we missed the part where I'm in there. But yeah, no, as I was saying, when that Frank Rizzo dude or whatever his fucking name is, when he says you're subhuman, I'm like, I take it seriously because it takes one to know one. And that guy definitely is a hog. You know what I mean? Like, he's definitely a hog. So when he says another person is a hog, I'm like, wait, maybe I am a hog? Because he's certainly a fucking hog.
This message is,
As a police officer, he's had this training and he understands how to investigate things. And yet, looking at these numbers, he felt that he's doing something about it by just posting these things instead of joining a legitimate organization that's fighting human trafficking.
and that Save Our Children thing becomes kind of
It's
the soft pill before you get to the other level of Q, right? Like, you kind of come in the door with like, let's stop child sex trafficking, and then you leave thinking there's this global conspiracy.
And I think the thing that stands out to me when I think about the difference between those is they act like it's this grassroots movement, and it's not. It's some person somewhere that has made a decision to do this, put these ideas in people's head.
Yeah, so I guess I just don't, at this point, like, don't really know how much of that I know to be true. How do we untangle the web, you know, that's been created to try to put some order to what just appears to the outside viewer as chaos?
Well, let's work on it.
Now, the Chans may seem chaotic to the naked eye, but the Chans are actually a constant competition. Who can create the most viral or outrageous thing?
This girl went missing, and now Wayfair is selling this cabinet with the same name for $12,000.
Here in Minneapolis, they set an 8 p.m. curfew. They don't give a damn about a curfew.
I hope there's no TOS stuff.
What do you want us to do?
Oh, there it is. Boys, this is it. 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 I think this is where it is. Yup. Guys, you already know. Some of these scenes might be familiar to you if you already watched your boy attend this rally alongside Will Neff.
Read between the lines. Stop with this. You need to calm down, sir. You need to calm down a little bit.
Hank Pecker, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, Hank Pecker. Hank Pecker was there.
A distraction? No, I'm done with this. This is why CNN is a joke. You can't even report the facts on daily news.
Whoa, what?
Like one of these chuds.
Who's that? That's Hank Pecker from TruthTellerEagleFuck.net, ladies and gentlemen. That right there, I recognize that himbo. He's wearing that himbo hat. And look at that, that's Archbishop. That's Archbishop Will Neff of the Blood Church. You're still wearing the same hat today? Yeah, I was. I don't know where I put it, but I was just wearing it, dude. Look at that, dude. Why are you wearing an Indian dot kind of... Man, shut up. Yes, I have a fucking... Hassan the Hun, we previewed the ep on YouTube. We appreciate you spreading the word. Oh, thanks, Vice Communications.
Sending up for the whole world, for all the kids.
Great Awakening's here.
Arjan Pogo, 16-month Pogo.
Everybody, I had enough for everybody in the crew, so you can come and grab me.
QAnonymous, dude.
Toss it up, man. Toss it up.
Julian Field, Jake Rockatansky, and Travis View have watched the Q movement unfold since the very beginning.
I can be a QAnonymous hipster because I went on their podcast before they blew the fuck up. You can go find that episode deep in the bowels of the QAnonymous podcast.
In August 2018, they launched a podcast called QAnon Anonymous.
More than 2 years later, it has become the go-to place for those who are Q curious, looking for the latest update.
So how do you guys think that Q went from being just this sort of obscure movement on the internet, living in the Chans, to a political movement?
So Q started on the 4chan message board.
The Chans, they go back to Japanese nihilism, 2channel, and other image boards that became prevalent there among young people who didn't have opportunities.
I'm a little worried about the
and we're just like,
imagery.
well, I feel alone and disconnected. I can't get a girlfriend. And so that culture kind of spread to the United States. What started defining them is the anonymity. You can go there and say anything. Just let it loose. Doesn't matter. No consequences.
Hola, get dollar.
Now, the Chans may seem chaotic to the naked eye, but the Chans are actually a constant competition. Who can create the most viral or outrageous thing?
One classic example is the Wayfair conspiracy theory.
This girl went missing, and now Wayfair is selling this cabinet with the same name for...
I listened to that podcast last week. Craziest part, 2 or 3 years later, you're still saying the same shit? Yes, dude. But at least now I'm not saying it to like 1,000 people, and instead I'm saying the same shit to 45,000 people, so more people are hearing it.
$12,000, but that's not it. This girl, missing. This cabinet with coincidentally the same exact name that she has, $13,000.
Even though there's no substance to this, it caught on amongst people who maybe have never even heard of Q.
The actual people who they would put as the missing person would come up on Facebook and be like,
Why am I mad? Because I'm not missing. Out of here.
I was just talking about this earlier.
Of Q over time, and it continues to evolve.
And again, remember, I don't know if they're going to reference this, but that was literally the video I was talking about. That was exactly what I was talking about earlier. Remember when I said the Wayfair conspiracy and someone was like, yo, I'm not fucking missing. Like, I'm literally here. And people yelled at her. People literally fucking yelled at her. They were like, either like, no, I don't believe you. You're literally working with them. Or they yelled at her saying that, you know, she was in the wrong for getting upset that people thought that she was still fucking missing. Because these people simply had the best opinion, or these people had the best interest of others in mind. Because they wanted to fucking, you know, end child sex trafficking. Like, why are you yelling about people who are trying to fight back against child sex trafficking? It's like, dude, you're a psycho. You're a sick freak. By the way, don't be a tease. Thank you for the 20 gifted.
Evolved. Were there any precursors?
The insider anon was a common genre on 4chan. You know, prior to QAnon, there's one called FBI Anon in 2016 who also claimed to have insider information about the imminent prosecution of Hillary Clinton. So this was a common genre of post. And usually, you know, this supposed insider claims that, you know, some big thing is going to happen, and the Anons play along or they try to trip them up, mostly treated as a game.
You guys have studied this more than anybody. I mean, really. So who is it? Who's you?
I mean, could it be some kid in their basement in New Jersey or wherever, you know, who sort of made this LARP and all of a sudden it hit and now maybe he's got a couple friends working. I mean, it almost doesn't matter really who it is anymore.
Some evidence has been gathered of who may or may not be involved. There's the early days in which we get to see the kind of early influencers like Tracy Beans or Pamphlet On. There's that small crew. Then we don't know if it's changed hands a bunch of times. Now, at this point, we do know that there's another point where some evidence is gathered, which is through 8chan and now 8kun itself. Jim Watkins and his son Ron Watkins, who run 8kun, and people around them, like, they, at the very least, have verified the identity of Q and said this is the correct and authentic Q. They've had to do that multiple times over. So he or she or they, whoever Q is, has at the very least been in contact with them and jumped through some hoops to kind of reassert that they're Q.
He's not okay. If we're being real, they're being very timid about who they think is QAnon, or like Ron Watkins' relationship with QAnon. Normally they're way more aggressive about it, but like the current iteration of Q, or at least the last iteration of Q that we know of from 8chan, is just Ron and Jim Watkins. Like, there is too much information that points in their direction, and they took over the board. They're being vague there, I think, for I guess for the sake of the documentary or whatever, but like, you know, you can tell because the only people at wrong Watkins, did I say the not the fucking Code Monkey one, the dad and his son too, but basically they're grifters who took over the.
Is a Russian kid in Russia.
The dad is Jim, Ron is the son. Okay, sorry. They basically took over 8chan from what's his face, the other dude who now fights against it, and they made him work for them. What's the name of the dude who Frederick Brennan, is that his name? I'm sure they'll interview him as well. But anyway, they took it over from him, made him run the site. And at a lot of points, they were the only people. Yeah, I saw an episode of Reply All. I think it's a really good thing to check it out. Yes, Reply All documents this, documents everything from the beginning, start to end. It's probably one of the best episodes on QAnon that I've ever seen. And I high-key recommend that if you guys want to watch. The Reply All episode, I don't know what the name of that specific episode is, but it's pretty obvious that the only people that have access to like Q and like Q posts were those two people at a certain point in time, and it's most likely it's those two dudes.
So, we've talked to a ton of people in this community, and it is very clear to me that certainly this has been massively impactful. I want to know who's behind it.
Let's do this.
Okay, so top theories. There was the theory of Patriot Soapbox. That was the theory that this company, Patriot Soapbox, which was made up of a woman named Tracy Beans, who's a YouTuber, and Coleman Rogers and Paul Ferber. And they were sort of, I guess, bakers, but seemed to have a lot of access. And then there was videos of Tracy yelling at the president that she's Q.
We are Q. We love you. We are Q. We're Q.
Thank you.
They organized the whole thing.
There is the idea that this was all a joke, right?
All for a LARP.
Oh yeah, all for a LARP.
That was big in 2018 when Jack Posobiec came out saying that I know who Q is. I'm going to publish this report on OAN. I've talked to the founders. We started Q as a joke.
I constantly go between, did the naval intelligence officer, is the naval intelligence officer actually part of like the intelligence community in beefing up these sorts of conspiracy theories? And Jack Posobiec is literally too stupid to be a fucking actual psyop. That's what I go between. Because like he is a naval intelligence officer who is at the heart of all these fucking conspiracies, including Pizzagate. But then also, he's the type of dude that I've had arguments with over Twitter during his wedding, as he was live streaming his wedding with Paul Joseph Watson, where they personally ordered, I think, was it Papa John's or Domino's on purpose for their fucking wedding, and spent most of that time literally arguing with me over the internet, over Twitter. So, like, he's definitely too stupid to fucking be like a legitimate intelligence community person. So, you know what I mean?
On Trump supporters, and we just wanted to see how far we could take it.
I could see that being a funny joke. Recently, I just heard this, and I've been trying to reach out to him, but this guy, Fred Brennan, who started 8chan, is claiming that the guy who now runs 8chan,
Jim Watkins.
that's his name, Jim Watkins,
That's the most,
is the person who controls Q. Who else do we have to look into?
Yeah, I mean, the last one I think we shouldn't rule out yet is that it actually is somebody close to the president.
Well, I'm just not gonna give it that kind of credit though right now. So we're gonna say that for me, the thing that seems most promising, at least from just an entry point, is the Watkins theory.
Yes.
So let's talk to Fred.
Fred Brennan has made national news by appearing on my favorite podcast, Reply All, saying that his former business partner, Jim and Ron Watkins, have taken over Q's account.
I'm making a very specific claim. He's not a maker, he's a taker. He took 8chan, and now he's taking Q. It is known that he has control over the Q account.
We good?
Where'd you pull that water from?
Just behind the dog.
What else you got?
So before things got all dark and up, what was like the problem, you know, that you were looking to solve launching 8chan?
The reason I really made 8chan was just because I thought that the users of 4chan don't have enough control of the topic of the board, and that there are only 30 or 40 boards.
Part of it was, no, the real reason is like he thought that there wasn't enough freedom of speech on 4chan.
In the whole kind of early 10s, I very much believed that users having control of the board was a good thing.
But everything changed in September 2014 when rival platform 4chan banned all discussions of Gamergate, a coordinated harassment campaign against women working in the video game industry.
Before Gamergate, we got like 100 posts per hour. And then after Gamergate, it was like 7,000, 6,000. Okay, am I gonna kick them off? Or look at all these users I have now. I made the shitty decision to allow them to stay. And yeah, that totally changed the site.
Hi guys, I'm Jim.
Was that kind of when the Watkins family's reaching out to you really landed?
Yeah. The Watkins family's pitch to me. We own this huge Japanese site that gets millions and millions of anonymous posts per day.
The honorable cause that Jim Watkins and Ron Watkins engaged in, if I'm not mistaken, is uncensored Japanese adult video that they were able to shoot in their in the Philippines, specifically for the Japanese adult video marketplace. That was their that was what they were doing. I think that's how they made their money.
And we want to help you host 8chan. Any problem you're having, we'll fix it. They said, you know, we'll have a contract. It'll be like 60-40 of future profits. And, you know, back then I thought there might be some future profits. So I went to the Philippines in October 2014.
So what was your like day-to-day life like in the Philippines?
Really easy. I mean, it really easy compared to here, you know. All I had to do was kind of focus on 8chan, which took up all my entire day. Seemed like, hey, maybe this will work, you know? But then the shootings happened.
QAnon.
Satanic rituals, drinking children's blood, adrenochrome.
Where did they come from?
QAnon is the single greatest.
Okay, never mind. They don't have. Apparently, there's a part 2 and part 3 coming as well.
They will excuse and
3-part investigative event.
Yeah, there's a part 2 and
Begins
part 3.
Tuesday at 10 on Vice.
Wait, are they going to show?
Hours before, a 28-year-old Australian man calmly walked into this mosque and murdered 51 people. He posted a 74-page manifesto laying out his motivation on a website called 8chan.
I just felt like this isn't maybe such a good idea after all. Wanted to take it down. Problem just became that Watkins had other ideas.
Proactively censoring something that they would do in the People's Republic of China. Americans don't do that.
In the beginning, when Q is maybe 10 to 20% of our users, we don't need it. But now, where
that was a New Zealand shooting, by the way. That's when he decided, like, oh fuck, never mind. Completely unregulated free speech is kind of a problem.
after the shootings, Q stops posting, their entire site will have no traffic. They can't let Q stop posting, basically.
By that time, Fred had washed his hands of his creation, paving the way for a full takeover by the Watkins. 8chan was now the exclusive home of Q drops. Fred believes that Jim and his son Ron also took over Q's online persona.
I knew that Q had moved to 8chan because Ron was real excited about that, you know? And, oh, we're gonna get all this traffic from the Q board that moved and...
I mean, like, did he bring that business in?
Basically, I mean, I feel like he was kind of communicating with Paul Ferber at the time and making Paul Ferber feel comfortable with 8chan, basically. Paul Ferber is the first guy we know for sure was running a Q-related board.
4chan became so unusable that then we all moved to...
This guy's, Paul Ferber's story is so funny because, like, it's clear that he's Q for a period of time, right? And it's very obvious that he's literally Q for a period of time, but he can't say it because, like, you know, someone else, there always has to be, like, the anonymity. Otherwise, everyone's gonna be like, well, you're some fucking Australian dude. You're not QAnon, dumbass. But then, because of the way that, like, entering people's accounts was so easy and how insecure these accounts are, and they literally have, like, one fucking password, and if that password is something super dumb, then anyone can post from that. Unless you are, unless you're, you know, a leader of the message board or you own a message board or whatever, and then you have some level of control, he straight up got cucked out of it.
8chan and the board that I created, which was Calm Before the Storm, CBTS.
6 months after the Christchurch murders, 8chan is shut down. The Watkins migrate everything to a new board they call 8kun, and Q follows.
It was Matlock,
Many believe the Watkins control the posts. Fred suspects there may be others working on Q behind the scenes.
He kind of has all these guys who would be willing to lie to people, you know, and to write Q-style posts. I've heard different names. Thomas Schonenberger, heard his name thrown out.
Tell me, who's that?
I've tried to avoid going down the Thomas rabbit hole because I know people who have, and they haven't ever brought anything concrete out of that rabbit hole.
When you look at this long enough, the idea that this is a network of people, not an individual, not sexy for a documentary, right?
Yeah.
Or like a media piece.
It's not sexy.
But it's the truth.
But it's the truth. But as long as these drops are still continuing, it matters a lot. Because who's writing them and who is having all this influence? Who else is kind of in the background? We don't know.
Where do you think Jim Watkins is right now?
ABC News told us he's somewhere in America. You should try to find him. He'd probably be somewhere in California, actually.
We all agree that Jim has something to do with QAnon, you know, the publishing of Q drops right now. But it doesn't really answer a lot of questions for all of the things before Jim Watkins took over Q. Like, what was the involvement there?
Who's Q, though? Guys, what do you mean, who's Q after all of this? QAnon is like a fucking a age-old 4chan meme that turned into a serious fucking movement because people are so delusional, and it was the right place at the right time, and people, grifters within these sorts of movements or adjacent to these movements, took over the message boards and started using Q for their own, you know, for their own purposes. That's basically what it is.
What was the origin story?
It's not one fucking person.
Jim Watkins accusations, but interesting about this Thomas Schoenberger character. I think we should definitely look into that.
Yeah.
Let's hit the bunker.
Good job. That was the worst high five.
Nope, that's clearly not gonna work. Ready?
Wait, you don't even know.
Wait, what?
So Jim Watkins is going to be in Phoenix tomorrow.
No way.
Like, nobody has
for that
talked to this
Q-Con?
guy. Yes, someone's got to ask Jim the Q.
Someone needs to ask that guy the Q.
So this seems like our shot.
That's exciting.
I hate to be super cliche about this, but like, Q is literally the friends we made along the way. Like, that is straight up what QAnon is. It's not a single person, it's an idea. And it is, more importantly, the friends you made along the way on those fucking psychotic message boards and also on Facebook. All of the other, like, crystal mommies that became QAnon supporters as a consequence of COVID. and you know all these other men and women on the internet. It's literally the friends you made along the way.
I have a thing though. This guy Thomas Schoenberger.
Yep.
I've been looking into him, and he's too weird not to go further on.
What kind of weird are we
Yeah,
talking?
this is a guy who writes music for babies to make them smarter. I don't really know what happens next, but apparently he has since really gone down a very dark turn and has now several really serious criminal charges against him, including defrauding a bunch of old women of their life savings and also a felony stalking charge.
That is a dark turn.
Pretty dark turn.
Also really working both ends of the age spectrum with the babies and the old people.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's great here.
Really monetizing
Definitely
on either.
not sure. Yeah.
So we basically have two key suspects at this point. On one hand, there's Jim, who we know has some level of influence over Q. We just don't really know how much. And to play devil's advocate, just because he controls the board where Q posts doesn't mean that he is actually writing the posts. Our second theory that's incubating and forming right now is figuring out who this guy Thomas Schoenberger is, because Fred mentioned him. It seems like a few people have tried to dig up some info, but nothing has come to light quite yet. So I'll go look into the Jim theory, and you look into the Thomas theory.
I love it.
It's done.
See you when you're back.
Too late. It's done.
Be safe.
Next time on QAnon, the search for Q.
You're dealing with one of the most experienced spies you're ever going to meet.
It was meant to be a parody. It was meant to be kind of like a big joke. Like a joke on the president, a joke on all these other people that we could laugh at.
Thomas, are you Q?
Q is an elaborately constructed operation.
Yo, the worst part about that is that like there are people with like actual security clearances and shit. There are like admirals, like there are people in the military with like positions of power, but because they're fucking boomers themselves, they also unironically start believing in this psychotic shit, okay? That is the craziest part. It's like a nurse that's an anti-masker or an anti-vaxxer. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, you're at the heart of this, okay? You are supposed to be the professional. Why the fuck do you believe in the psychotic shit that the people who aren't healthcare professionals believe in? And again, you can still be a nurse and a moron at the same time. You could be a fucking admiral and a part of the military and actually have like levels of security clearance and still be a gigantic fucking moron.
Trump fan, and I don't care what you say. Thank you.
Anybody could be a QAnon. Like, anybody could be a part of it.
I hate political correctness, don't believe in it.
I believe that QAnon is the single greatest information operation in the history of humanity. You live in a dream. Actually, you live in a nightmare.
It's great, dude. You now have 30 million, give or take, people in the United States of America alone where you can just like activate them to do psychotic shit, or you can always get people to go out and assassinate people if you were the part of the American intelligence community. And then you could literally be like, well, they're a Q poster. There you have it. And I'm not saying that that's happening, but it would be a very comfortable way to just neatly wrap up any sort of fucking problem that you might have. It's what the tribal people have talked about as well, and I kind of agree with them. Literally, no matter what happens, you could just be like, oh, Q poster. Nashville bombing happens, Q poster. Boom, there you go. Makes sense. It's so perfect. It's so perfectly created to... You could even literally get Q posters to do some psychotic shit, because they are, and they have. Newsflash, QAnon started as a troll where we and so many others had a lot of fun. Morons didn't get the joke, ran with it as if it was real and started a cult. We're going to steer all of you into federal prison at times, and we will make that funny too. Expect it, lol. Dude, your anonymous news is... I don't know if they're credible or not. Says an intern threatened people on our Facebook page. Speaks to 22 minutes in. Sorry, can't time code on Facebook. Yeah. Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying it's her intern that fucking posted. But no, it's her. She was Q posting for a very long time. Of course it was her. Okay, There's another video that I wanted to watch. I've been meaning to watch, which is the. There's a lot of videos that I've been meaning to watch, but definitely one that I wanted to watch was the California. Why are people leaving California? There's a CNBC doc. What's driving California's mass exodus? And
It's been called the anti-California dream, the tech exodus, the Great Migration.
Between 2008 and 2000.
So I'm very excited to watch this one. Hold on, I gotta go pee while this runs though.
18,000 companies have left California for more tax and regulatory friendly states.
Dom, we're talking about Elon Musk moving from California to Texas.
Oracle saying they are changing their corporate headquarters from Redwood Shores, California to Austin, Texas.
And while it may be an overstatement to say California is hemorrhaging people, some of California's wealthiest residents, like Elon Musk, are leaving too.
California has to realize that eventually all of the anti-business laws and regulations they passed, we're going to catch up with them.
Erica Douglas was an early part of the exodus. She moved her SEO software company, Whoosh Traffic, and her employees to Austin 6 years ago.
I can remember writing one check to the state of California for 1 year, and it was like $24,000 for a year. And that was just income tax to the state. That was not federal tax.
The state's population and job growth have both slowed to a trickle. Census data shows more than 650,000 people left in 2019, after 7 years in a row where departures were on the rise. In fact, California has lost more people to other states than it's gained for much of the last 2 decades. And with the rise of remote work in 2020 adding extra flexibility, over 135,000 more people left California than moved here, the third largest net migration loss ever recorded.
As we lose really successful businesses such as Oracle and Hewlett-Packard, that changes how many high-paid jobs we're going to have. Changes really the whole nature of the state. It changes how many tax dollars go into Sacramento, how many tax dollars fund our schools, whether there's money left over to repair roads and bridges. It's really a huge problem that the state is facing.
We asked the experts and those leaving, what's behind this trend? Can anything be done to reverse it? Or is this a true shift for business in California as we know it?
Not Texas, go to Oklahoma? That's not happening, brother.
For a century and a half, California was in an almost constant state of growth, with booming business and expanding population.
There's something magic in California. The culture just seamlessly and consistently moves towards what's next with new ideas.
California's gold rush that started in 1848 led to one of the largest migrations in U.S. history, with hundreds of...
Can CA get rid of income tax like Texas? No, and also they shouldn't. What the fuck are you talking about? Dude. These guys want to move to low-cost sites, okay? Oklahoma has tried to make it happen for a very long time. Texas has been able to actually make it happen because of Austin and whatnot. But those areas inevitably are going to become shitty and hard to live in, as Austin is, from what I understand, turning into. And what instead should be happening is fucking federally mandated taxes across the board beyond federal taxes, so that these sorts of movements don't happen, where there is a race to the bottom and every state operates basically like fucking Ireland, okay? The positive aspect of the mass exodus from California is that, first of all, there's always going to be jobs here. That's ridiculous to assume that, like, the tech industry is the only fucking industry in Los Angeles, right? And secondly, it'll hopefully make it so that these people that originally could not live in the areas that they grew up in can be able to live in these areas once again if the housing market normalizes. I don't think the prices will go down, but realistically, it would be great if that happened. Apparently, CA's corporate income tax is 8.84, so the lady who's complaining about spending $24,000 literally made $2.5 million. Yeah, it's fucking dumb, dude. Look, I'm going to be paying a boatload of taxes this past year, and it's so fucking silly that people are like, I don't want to live in California anymore. Yeah, you piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. Okay, get the fuck out of here. There's always two sides to a coin. Yeah, there's the piece of shit side of that coin. Okay, that's all it is.
thousands coming from across the country and the world. The population explosion qualified California for statehood in 1850, just a few years after it was ceded by Mexico. California was an economic
Don't let the fucking door hit your ass on the way out. That's what I say.
powerhouse by the end of the century, home to iconic brands like Wells Fargo and Levi Strauss. Scientists and researchers started flocking to the Bay Area in the early 1900s when San Francisco's port and nearby Moffett Field made the area a major hub for early telegraph, radio, and aerospace industries. Stanford University, founded in 1885, led the way in encouraging students to commercialize their ideas, leading 2 graduate students to start what many consider the first Silicon Valley startup in 1939, Hewlett-Packard.
California has been the leading indicator in software, digital technology, modern mobility, the environment, the space industry, and is the front door between the United States of America and the Pacific.
Cost of living from CA to Texas is like an 80% reduction, taxes 10%. This is true. This is also true as well. Cost of living in Texas is rising as well, depending on what areas you're moving to. And people are moving to Austin, and they're moving to Dallas, and they're moving to Houston. They're not moving to fucking random sides of Western Texas where cost of living is actually fucking low. But cost of living is a big difference. That is certainly true, especially because of real estate. Okay? Yeah, people aren't moving to fucking Arlen, brother, or Lubbock, Texas, Kona. Anyway, so cost of living is already increasing tremendously in these places because real estate is increasing, and that's what a big chunk of the fucking problem is for a lot of these people that live in California. Now, you are right, though. The people that complain about fucking taxes are literally complaining about 10%. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. Okay? Shut the fuck up. You're so silly. You're a silly bitch. The only thing that you could complain about is space, okay? That's the only thing. If you want to live in like a metropolitan area, then yeah, you're not going to have a lot of space in Los Angeles. It's hard. It's so insanely expensive to purchase a place in California or rent a place in California where you have space to your own self. That's it. That's the only big motivator that would potentially have someone like myself move out of California, which I love, to a place like Austin or to a place like Texas or to a different place. But I see no reason to do that because I love California. I like this place. Bro, you were being disingenuous. Cost of living in California is driven by Prop 13. That's not a problem they will have in Texas. Our cost of living is so high because we decided to limit property taxes.
Rim in the Asian markets. So watching our state fumble and stumble.
10% on 100,000 is $10,000. Do you think that's how taxes work? When you make $100,000, it automatically takes 10% of that? Like if you make $1 million, that's like, oh, there it is. Don't worry, when Texas becomes a communist blue state like CA, the companies will ask what went wrong and move to another state. Dude, Hassan, Texas is going to be a Democrat state. Come on, man. That's just more vote for us. Yeah, that's not what's going on, though. A lot of those fucking dipshits that are leaving California to move to Texas are literally fucking reactionary morons who are like, California's not red enough for me, dude. They're not turning Texas blue. Texas is turning blue because of the Hispanic population aging in to voter-eligible demographics. Not turning fucking blue because, you know, the dumbasses are moving into Texas. As a matter of fact, a lot of those dumbasses that are moving into Texas are the out-of-towner transplants that wear the fucking 10-gallon hats and vote for Ted Cruz over Beto O'Rourke. If you look at the actual stats, you would recognize that, like, Texas natives, more Texas natives voted for fucking Beto O'Rourke than they did for Ted Cruz.
Is not just something that's a California issue. It is a national and global issue.
California's economy has grown to the 5th largest in the world. It had $65.6 billion in VC investment in 2019, by far the highest of any state.
All that venture capital is concentrated in San Francisco and Silicon Valley. But once those businesses do get a cash infusion from venture capital and get on their feet and become successful, then the advantage of being in California and Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I fucking despise this shit, dude. VCs are so scummy. I'm sorry. It's literally a fucking gamble. It is a gamble of the highest magnitude. They take advantage of all the amenities that this fucking state offers, and then they move out like when they actually make it big. So fuck that. You know, fuck these people. Yeah, push the